All right. Hello and welcome, guys, to the ultimate guide to dating apps. So, this is going to be a very short series, but it's going to be very in depth. It's going to be very technical. And by the time that you finish this, you are going to understand dating apps like you never imagined before. And your results are going to improve tenfold. Okay. And quick disclaimer, I'm not trying to sell you any course. Okay. This is 100% free information. I actually do run a service. It has something to do with your dating profile pictures, but it's completely optional. This is just 100% free information. All right. And like I said, this is going to be a multi-part series. We're going to start out with one of the most important lessons in part number one that's going to set the foundation for the rest of, how we're going to learn and improve our dating app strategy. All right, so who am I? Well, I am not a dating app coach. Okay, I'm not a pickup artist. I'm not one of these guys who's obsessed with trying to get women or anything like that. To be honest with you, I'm pretty much just a normal guy. I'm pretty much just an average guy, probably like you. I downloaded dating apps a few years ago. I got horrible results. I got almost no matches, and when I did, it was mostly just fat women, and I was depressed, and you're wondering, am I ugly? Like, what's going on here? But since that time, I kind of figured out the secrets, and I've actually reviewed thousands of profiles now. And you can see some of my work. I respond to almost every post on Hinge app and Bumble subreddits. So if you go over there, if you want to post your own profile, you can. I respond to almost all of them. And you can see some of my own results here. So on the right side, this is Tinder. It's when I created a fresh account in a major city. In 1 week, these were my results. So I did blur people's personal information here. I don't want to, get banned, so seems like the sensible thing to do. All right, so let's go ahead and dig into this. Part number one. The number one mistake that guys make. This just boggles my mind. And it's so predictable, and it happens time and time and time again. The number one mistake is guys treat dating apps like they are a slave auction. Now, this analogy is a little bit fuzzy, so let me kind of explain what I mean. So what I see usually when guys set up their dating app profile is they treat it as if they are for sale, and they just want to stand there and kind of put their arms out and do a 360-degree turn and just show you, here I am. Okay, who wants to bid on me now? Right? They're making no effort to make themselves look attractive. And in fact, oftentimes they will do things that they know make them look less attractive. Okay, so one of the common themes I see on these profile reviews I do is people will include pictures of themselves that they know, they already know don't look good. And I will tell them, hey, that doesn't look good. For example, maybe it's a picture of you playing Dungeons and Dragons with your friends who are overweight and have acne, and you're in a dirty basement. And I'll be like, dude, why do you have that picture? And you know what they always tell me? They say, because that's who I really am. And I want to make sure that whoever this girl is, she loves me for me, Or another example of this is I see some guys, every picture they take is super goofy. It's just like, they've just got, every picture is like this or just like some weird, like bizarre facial expression, right? And I'll say, man, why are you doing that? And they'll say, because this is who I am. I'm the goofy guy. I'm the class clown. And I want her to know that about me. But here's the thing. And why this is a big mistake is because dating apps are not meant to be a source of truth, okay? They're not some kind of application where you're filling out all of, the true things about you, and then some algorithm is aligning you up with someone who likes those things. That's not how it is. So while girls might like goofy guys, when they go on a dating app, they're not looking for goofy guys. They're looking for attractive guys who are also goofy. They're looking for the hot guy who's got resources, who seems like a good catch, who also happens to play Dungeons and Dragons. Okay? So you have to be more clinical with your application of how you present yourself. All right? And that leads me to, fundamentally the mindset shift that you need if you want success, which is you have to learn how to start treating dating apps like a job application. Okay? And the analogy is just it's so perfect, right? When women sign up for dating apps, they get hundreds and thousands of applicants, people swiping right on them within 24 hours. Within 24 hours, it gets to a point where her account is lagging because it's just so locked up with people. Okay? And if you think about a highly in-demand job, like let's say at Google, for example, they probably deal with the same thing. Google puts up a job offer for a junior engineer, and what happens? Right? You probably have hundreds and thousands of people applying. And women select who they want to engage with on dating apps the exact same way that Google selects who they want to interview for their jobs. They only have so much time. They don't want to waste their time. So, of course, they're going to select the people who look like the best candidates, right? And case in point, like a little anecdote here. So my girlfriend, I got to see this firsthand. She downloaded Bumble for the first time. She'd never used it before. And, she's an above average looking, she's Asian, she's early 20s. So she's kind of in that prime real estate where, people are really going to swipe right on her. And within 24 hours, she had over 1,000 likes. And she was literally telling me she's just so overwhelmed by, the amount of interest she has. And it was to the point where she basically deleted the app simply because she couldn't handle how many people were matching with her. And she was just like, I just want to go out with you, and I'm deleting this app. I can't take it. So some people will see this, and they will think to themselves, well, this is horrible. This is doom and gloom. I have no chance on the dating apps. But it doesn't function like that, actually. You need to always live within reality. Right? You don't live in the world as you wish it is. So we wish that the world would be like, I present myself and the app lines me up with women who want to be with me. But that's just not how the world works. How the world works is, hundreds and thousands of men are applying to each woman, and she's going to pick the ones who she really likes, And so the competition is stiff. The competition is very stiff. And what you need to do when there's stiff competition is just put in more effort. It's really that simple, okay? So ask yourself, what would you do if you were applying for an in-demand job, right? So some basic things, of course. You would really polish your resume, and you would start, creating projects, example projects that you could show to them. You would get amazing headshots. Like you would want to show yourself as this very gregarious, outgoing kind of person. You'd present yourself just in the best way that you possibly could. Okay? And not only that, but you wouldn't even just make yourself look better. You would want to become better. You would want to study a lot. You'd study algorithms. You would join all of these, Leak Code and all these different services to really improve your abilities, right? So in other words, you would put in a lot of effort. And that's exactly what you need to do if you want to get results on dating apps. So 9 times out of 10, when I review a profile on Reddit from someone who says, I'm not getting any matches, the answer is very simple. You just uploaded pictures that were sitting on your phone. They look horrible, and you're not getting any results, and now you're mad. Right? So just fix your profile. It's really that simple. When it comes to achieving the best possible results from dating apps, the most important thing, the pound for pound, number one thing is going to be your pictures. And the reason why is because women literally swipe left within 1.7 seconds on average of seeing your first picture. And they usually don't get to the second picture. And they usually don't get to the bio. Okay? So by simple logic, it follows that the most important thing is literally your first picture. Okay? And we're going to dive into pictures very, very deeply because there's a lot of theory that goes into this. However, I want to dispel a couple of common myths right out the gate. First of all, yes, your looks, your physical looks do matter. So part of the way I was able to get such better results for myself on dating apps was by improving my looks. I look a lot more attractive now than I did at that time. But actually, a lot of the things that I changed, were quite easy to change. So it was about my hair. It was about my facial hair. It was about my fashion style, stuff like that. But the other side of it is it's about how you present yourself. Because even after I made those changes, I had pictures that weren't great pictures, and the results are night and day. So it is partly about how attractive you are, and we're going to get entirely into the practical looks maxing stuff. I'm going to show you some crazy theories. But also, it's very much about, really maximizing your photos. Dating apps are functionally like social media. So before we talked about how dating apps systemically are like jobs, just in terms of the number of applicants to one job, and the way that they get filtered out. But functionally speaking, they're like social media. They're not like jobs. So with a job, maybe somebody will read your resume and then decline you. But on dating apps, they don't read your resume. They don't look at your profile. They look at the hook, which is the first 1 to 2 seconds, of what you're presenting. And anybody who knows anything about social media will tell you that the hook is the only thing that matters, right? You can plan the hook before you even plan the video, right? Not the other way around. You come up with good hooks, you figure out the video later. Nobody cares. Once you hook someone in, they're going to watch your content. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get people on dating apps to watch your content, okay? And this just, once again, illustrates why the first photo is the single most important thing. So I told you before that we're going to kind of include some practical applications at the end of every presentation. And so that's what I'm going to do right now. But I want you to know that we're going to go much more in depth into photos. So you should continue watching this series. I wouldn't necessarily stop right here and go and change anything yet because you just don't know enough. But what I will tell you in terms of, practical applications here, and by far the best thing that you could do to improve your dating profile pictures is get pictures that perform. And the pictures that perform, number one, they're generally professional quality photos. And the reason professional quality does so well, by the way, professional quality is these kind of photos where it's got sort of the blur in the background, it's got the very high quality, it's got good lighting, it seems like it was taken by a professional camera. Now, some people recently have started to associate this more with AI, but I think the results, I don't really care about that. I think the results are 100% clear. If you use professional quality photos, you really stand out. Like you stand out a lot. So the best analogy I could give you is, if you take, let's say, for example, you take a nice iPhone photo, of you standing against a wall smiling, right? Well, yes, that will be a lot better than if you take a photo of yourself in your bathroom in the mirror making an ugly face. Of course, it's better. The photos are the same quality, but it's a better photo. However, if you get a professional photo, even if you're in front of a blank wall, if it's a professional photo and it's got that quality to it, you will literally stand out. Whereas the other photo, the iPhone photo of you standing in front of the wall, it's not going to stand out. So if you can't get professional quality photos, then you're going to be at a big disadvantage, plain and simple. And I've gotten so many women start conversations with me and they say, who's your photographer? Which is a great thing. Anytime you can get women to message you first, it's just an amazing thing. So professional quality is great because it implies status rather than trying to show it overtly. So many guys try to take pictures with their flashy cars or whatever. It's just cringe. Like, it's 100% cringe. You want your status to whisper. You don't want it to shout. All right? So in terms of an action item, how are you actually going to get these photos? You have two options here. First option is you can start experimenting with photography. And I went through this phase myself. So very quickly, the best thing you can do, take your iPhone, switch it to the back camera. Put it on 2 to 3x zoom. And the reason you do this is because when you use the 1x zoom, or God forbid, you use the 0.5x, it actually distorts your features so that the things that are closer to the camera will become larger than they really appear in real life. And that's horrible. Whereas when you zoom in, you actually flatten your facial features, which is great. And you can Google lens distortion and focal length, and you will see exactly what I'm talking about. It can make you look like a completely different person. And you need to use a tripod in order to accomplish this, because when you zoom in, you need to move further away from the camera to still be in frame. And then, of course, you need to go to good locations, and you need to wear really nice clothes, and you need to look your best, and you should record video, because the best photos are candid photos. So record a video, record a video of yourself laughing, record video of yourself, fixing your, just kind of looking down, checking your watch, just kind of doing all these things and just pick out some good shots. Now, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. Like I said, I went through this. I experimented a lot with this, and it's difficult. Even when I went to nice locations like, 5-star hotels, stuff like that, the photos were good, but a lot of times it's just hard. We're not models. Like, there's a reason modeling is a profession. It's not just about looks. You have to learn how to model. So that brings you to option 2. This was the service I mentioned earlier that I do offer. I don't sell any courses. All this information is completely free. But I do offer a service, and it's at datingshoot.com. And what we do is we generate AI photos that look exactly like you. So it's 100% match to your actual face and body. And we just put you in nice locations. And we don't do any cringe stuff. We don't put you on a yacht or driving a supercar or sitting in a private jet or anything like that. We just put you in nice locations and give you attractive looking photos, just as if you'd gotten a professional photo shoot. That's all it is. It's just a replacement for that. And we use photo styles that we've already tested and confirmed actually convert well on dating apps. So you can literally get your photos delivered in 2 hours if you head over there. So those would be your two options in terms of what you can do today. Now, let's do a quick preview. I think this is really important on what we're going to be getting into, because this series needs to be viewed in its entirety, okay? Like I said, today wasn't even really about the photos. It's more about the mentality. So I want you to start thinking about dating apps as these are these high in-demand jobs, and I need to set myself up as the ideal candidate so that when I go to apply to them, all these companies are reaching out to me. I'm not the desperate one here. I'm the best candidate. But what we're going to be looking at coming up next We're going to go in depth into looks maxing. I have a lot of theories about looks maxing that are not what you normally hear from the black pill or from, these other corners of the internet. I truly believe that there is a pretty simple 80-20 of looks maxing, and a lot of these things can be done in the relative short term. And I may even show some of my own looks maxing progress. So the next thing we're going to look at is profile congruence. This one is seriously underrated. It's one of the biggest mistakes I see guys making when I do profile reviews. And profile congruence is really just all about how, what you say lines up with how you look. So, for example, I'll see guys, they look really nice, they look really smiley, they look like golden retrievers, and then their first prompt is, I want to bend you over and tie you up, stuff like that. It just completely puts women off, and we'll get all into that and talk about, sort of niche maxing and some of those other ideas, finding your niche or finding the right vibe for your profile. And of course, we're going to dig into game and texting strategy, but the very next thing we're going to talk about is we're going to start our deep dive into actual photo theory. And we're going to, because once again, photos are the most important thing. You don't even need a bio. Like, if you have a bio, honestly, you might even want to just put some basic info in there and delete everything else. Like, you don't have to be witty. You don't have to be funny. You don't have to do any of those things if you do the other fundamentals. Okay? All right. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next one.